The second we stepped into that abandoned Toronto mansion, I knew something inside was already waiting for us. Not a squatter, not an animal, something worse. The kind of thing that watches you before you even realize you're not alone. It started as a stupid late-night adventure between friends. A mutual friend had shown us photos of this abandoned mansion hidden north of Toronto, a gigantic, unfinished estate sitting alone in the middle of a dead, open field, surrounded by towering pine trees like they were hiding it from the rest of the world. The pictures looked unreal. Perfect hardwood floors, massive empty rooms, no graffiti, no broken glass, just abandoned. Too abandoned. That should have been our first warning. Me, Chad, and Brad drove out there just before sunset. The mansion looked even bigger in person. 3 stories tall, black, empty windows staring at us like hollow eyes. The long gravel driveway crunched beneath our shoes as we approached the house, and for some reason the entire property was dead silent. No birds, no wind, nothing. It felt like the world stopped breathing around that place. Construction had obviously been abandoned near completion. The exterior looked almost finished, but the house itself felt wrong, like it had been frozen in time. Our friend told us he got in through an unlocked kitchen window in the back. So we circled around and found it exactly where he said it would be. That creeped me out immediately. How was it still unlocked? One by one, we climbed through the window over the kitchen counter. The inside looked disturbingly clean. A few cabinet doors lay on the floor untouched, stacks of drywall leaned against walls, and tools were scattered around like workers had simply vanished mid-construction, like they left in a hurry. We split up to explore. Chad wandered upstairs while Brad checked rooms along a massive hallway connected to the dining room. I headed deeper into the first floor, sweeping my flashlight across enormous empty bedrooms and dark, unfinished spaces. Then I found the basement door. At the end of the hallway sat a twisted spiral staircase descending into total darkness. I shouted to the others that I was going downstairs. One of them yelled back something like, "Good luck," laughing. I remember wishing I'd stayed with them. The second I started descending, the temperature dropped. Not slightly, instantly. The deeper I went, the colder it became until my breath started fogging in front of me. By the time I reached the bottom, I couldn't even see the doorway above anymore. My flashlight barely cut through the darkness. The basement was enormous. It stretched far beyond what should have fit beneath the mansion. Unfinished wooden frames, piles of drywall, narrow corridors leading into blackness. The place looked like a maze built underground, and it smelled wrong. Not mold, not dust, something rotten. I kept moving anyway, because curiosity is a dangerous thing when you're young. Then I found the storage room. Several large plastic containers sat against the wall. I opened the first one, construction supplies. The second one, wood planks and rusted tools. Then one of the containers moved. A dull thump came from inside it. I froze. At first I convinced myself it was a raccoon or some trapped animal. But when I stepped closer, I noticed the lid wasn't sealed properly. It was slightly lifted on one side, like something underneath was pushing against it. My heart started pounding. Every instinct told me to run, but I leaned forward anyway and reached for the lid. And before I touched it, the lid slowly lifted by itself. I stumbled backward onto the concrete floor. A woman's face emerged from the darkness inside the container. Pale skin, sunken eyes, an impossibly wide smile stretching across her face. She stared directly at me like she'd been waiting there the entire time. Then she whispered, "Peekaboo," and started laughing. Not normal laughter. Vet. Broken. Inhuman. I scrambled backward in terror as she pushed herself higher out of the container with unnatural, jerking movements. Her bones cracked as she moved. I turned and sprinted for the spiral staircase, so fast I nearly fell. But when I reached the top, the basement door wouldn't open. It was locked. I slammed my fist against it, screaming for Chad and Brad. My voice echoed through the basement, while behind me, I heard slow, creaking footsteps on the staircase. She was climbing up after me, still laughing, still whispering things I couldn't understand. I looked down through the center of the spiral staircase and saw her pale face staring up at me from below, smiling wider then any human being should be able to smile. I started screaming so hard my throat burned. Then suddenly the basement door flew open. Chad grabbed my arm and pulled me out. I turned for half a second before slamming the door shut, and I saw her, standing halfway up the staircase. Tall, skeletal, hair hanging over her face, smiling at us in complete silence now. Chad saw her too. The color drained from his face instantly, and all three of us bolted for the front door without even looking back. We ran across the field like our lives depended on it. Because honestly, it probably did. We sat inside my car for nearly an hour trying to convince ourselves it was some homeless woman or drug addict. Anything logical, anything human. Eventually guilt got the better of me. If someone was trapped down there, I couldn't just leave them. So against every instinct screaming inside my head, we went back into the mansion. The house somehow felt darker now, colder, like it knew we came back. We slowly approached the basement hallway again, and every single hair on my body stood up because the basement door was already open, wide open. I swear on my life, we locked it before we ran. None of us said a word. We just turned and sprinted out of that mansion for the second time, got into the car, and drove home without looking back. And to this day, I still sometimes wake up in the middle of the night hearing that woman's voice in my head. Peekaboo. Every kid on our street was terrified of the mansion across from my house. Not because it looked abandoned, because it didn't. The massive estate looked perfect, too perfect. The lawn was always trimmed, the lights occasionally turned on at night, and expensive cars sometimes sat in the driveway. But in all the years we lived there, nobody ever saw the family outside. No barbecues, no visitors, no laughter, nothing, just silence. My friends Brian, Zeke, and I used to play a chaotic, free-for-all version of soccer in the middle of our quiet suburban street almost every afternoon. One sunny evening, one of us kicked the ball too hard, and it rolled across the road onto the mansion's property. I groaned and jogged over to grab it. The second I stepped onto the driveway, a weird feeling hit me, like I was being watched. I picked up the ball and glanced toward the mansion's windows, expecting maybe an angry homeowner glaring down at me. Instead, standing at one of the upstairs windows was a little boy. He looked about our age, pale face, dark hair, completely still, just staring at me. Something about him made my stomach tighten instantly. He wasn't smiling, wasn't waving, just watching me silently through the glass. I hurried back across the street and asked Brian and Zeke if they'd ever seen the kid who lived there. Neither of them knew who I was talking about. When I looked back up at the window, the boy was gone. At the time, I tried to brush it off. Maybe he was shy. Maybe he just never came outside. But over the next few weeks, I started noticing strange things. I never once saw the owners of the mansion outside either. No family dinners. No kids playing. No movement around the house during the day. It was like people existed in there without ever truly living. Then one night about a month later, I was in my bedroom playing Nintendo when I got up to grab a drink. As I passed my window, I casually looked across the street toward the mansion and froze. The boy was there again. Same upstairs window. Same motionless stare. Even from that distance, I could tell he was looking directly at me. A cold chill crawled up my arms. This time I noticed something even worse. The room behind him was completely dark. No lights. No movement. Just the boy standing unnaturally still at the glass. I stepped away from the window and tried to ignore it, but questions kept building in my head. Why had I never seen him outside? Why did nobody else seem to know he existed? And why did the mansion suddenly feel so wrong at night? Eventually, I asked my parents about the family across the street. They exchanged confused looks and told me they were pretty sure there wasn't any child living there. That answer disturbed me more than anything else. A few days later, while playing soccer again, we joked about needing a fourth player for a real match. That's when I got the idea. Without thinking much about it, I crossed the street and walked up to the mansion's front door. The house felt colder the closer I got. I rang the bell. After a long silence, the door slowly opened. An older woman, probably in her late 50s, stood there wearing a faded sweater. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept properly in years. I nervously asked if her son wanted to come outside and play soccer with us. Her expression immediately changed. "What son?" she asked quietly. I pointed upstairs and explained about the boy I kept seeing in the window. The color drained from her face instantly. I still remember the fear in her eyes. Her hands began trembling as she asked me to describe him. Dark hair, thin face, about our age. The moment I finished, tears filled her eyes. She covered her mouth and stared at me like I'd just said something impossible. Without another word, she slowly led me upstairs. The entire mansion felt unnaturally silent. Every step creaked loudly beneath our feet as we walked down the hallway toward the room where I always saw the boy standing. She opened the door. It was a child's bedroom. Dust covered everything inside. Toys sat untouched on shelves. Tiny sneakers rested beside the bed, exactly like someone had left them there years ago. Then she picked up a framed photograph from the dresser. It was him, the exact same boy. She asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. "Is this the boy you've been seeing?" I said yes. The woman broke down crying. She told me his name was Charlie, and Charlie had died 10 years earlier. I felt my entire body go numb. She explained that after losing Charlie, her husband slowly fell apart too. Eventually, he disappeared from her life completely, leaving her alone in that enormous mansion with nothing but memories. She believed me because there was no possible way I could have known what Charlie looked like. My parents had never spoken to her. I had never even entered the house before that moment. I didn't know what scared me more: the fact that I had truly seen her dead son, or the fact that he kept appearing specifically at my window. Months passed before I saw him again. Late one night, I happened to glance outside before bed, and there he was, standing in the upstairs window again, watching me. But this time something was different. His face looked sad, almost desperate, and for one horrifying second, I could have sworn he slowly raised one hand toward the glass. I slammed my blinds shut so hard they nearly snapped off the window. Even now, years later, I still avoid looking at upstairs windows at night, because part of me is terrified that one day I'll see Charlie again, and this time, he won't be inside the mansion. I tried convincing myself the woman in the kitchen was harmless, but deep down, something about her felt wrong from the moment I saw her standing silently inside that mansion. After talking to her for a few minutes, I went back outside to the pool, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling crawling around in my stomach. The lake behind the mansion looked perfectly calm under the evening sun, but I couldn't relax anymore. Every few seconds, I caught myself glancing back at the giant floor-to-ceiling windows, expecting to see that woman staring at me again. I never did. Eventually, I got out of the pool, dried off, and took a shower upstairs. Afterward, I fed the animals again. Oddly enough, the parrots were less creepy than the cats. The cats kept staring into corners of empty rooms like they were watching things I couldn't see. I still didn't run into the maid again. Part of me was relieved. Her English was limited, and every interaction with her felt strangely uncomfortable. She barely blinked when she talked, barely moved at all. It was like she was studying me more than speaking to me. That night, a couple of my friends came over because everybody wanted to see the mansion. I followed the homeowner's rule carefully. No more than 2 guests at a time, and absolutely no parties. Even then, the place felt eerie after dark. The mansion was massive. Marble floors, giant chandeliers, a game room bigger than my apartment. We played air hockey, messed around on the pool table, drank a little, and joked about how rich the family had to be. But when I casually mentioned the cleaning lady appearing earlier that day, both of my friends immediately stopped laughing. One of them asked, "Wait, why didn't the owner mention her to you?" That question hit me harder than it should have. Because he was right. If somebody had access to the house every single day, why wouldn't Ben tell me beforehand? Suddenly, the entire situation fell off. I pulled out my phone and texted Ben, asking about the cleaning lady named Eliza. No response. I didn't want to call and sound paranoid, so I waited. My friends offered to stay the night, but something told me not to push the homeowner's rules. Plus, I had no clue whether there were cameras hidden around the house. So eventually they left. The mansion immediately felt 10 times bigger once I was alone again. The silence in that place was unbearable. At some point while I was brushing my teeth upstairs, my phone buzzed. It was Ben. His message read, "What cleaning lady?" 2 question marks. 1 exclamation point. The second I saw it, My stomach dropped. I quickly typed back, explaining about the Hispanic woman named Eliza who claimed she cleaned the house every day. Before I could even finish texting, Ben called me. The moment I answered, I could hear panic in his voice. "There is no cleaning lady," he said immediately. My blood went cold. He explained that hiring me was the entire reason they didn't have anybody else coming to the property while they were away. No math, no landscapes, nobody. Suddenly, every room around me felt dangerous. Every dark hallway, every doorway, every shadow. I realized there was a very real possibility that somebody was still inside the mansion with me. Ben told me to lock myself in one of the bedrooms immediately while he called the police. I practically sprinted upstairs and locked myself inside a guest bedroom overlooking the lake. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. The worst part was the waiting. Every tiny noise sounded amplified. Floor creaks, air vents humming, the distant movement of tree branches outside. I stayed on FaceTime with Ben until the police finally arrived. Together, we searched the entire mansion from top to bottom. Nothing. No sign of the woman. No sign of forced entry either. I told Ben she claimed to have her own key, but he insisted that was impossible. According to him, there were no spare keys besides the ones his family carried. The police believed she probably slipped inside while I was outside at the pool and simply hid when I came back in. Eventually, they finished searching and left after making sure every door and window was locked securely. Ben stayed on the phone with me longer afterward, apologizing repeatedly and trying to calm me down. He asked if I could just hold down the fort for one more night until they figured things out. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Big mistake. Before bed, I locked the bedroom door and intentionally left the air conditioner off. I wanted complete silence so I could hear if anybody moved through the house. For nearly an hour, I lay awake staring into the darkness, listening, waiting. That's when I heard it. A tiny squeak, directly beneath me. At first, I thought it came from the floorboards settling. Then I heard breathing, under the bed. Every muscle in my body locked up. Slowly, I sat upright and stared at the edge of the mattress. My heart was pounding so violently I could hear it in my ears. I forced myself to lean over and look underneath. And I almost screamed before I even fully processed what I was seeing. Two people were hiding under the bed. The woman from earlier, Eliza, was staring directly at me with wide, unblinking eyes. Beside her was a man at least 10 years older than her, filthy and pale, with one hand clamped tightly over her mouth to keep her quiet. Neither of them moved. They just stared at me, like they'd been waiting there for hours. I exploded into a scream and launched myself off the bed toward the door. My hands fumbled desperately with the lock, while behind me, I heard movement. Fast movement. They were crawling out from under the bed. The second the door opened, I bolted down the hallway barefoot and sprinted outside to my car without even grabbing my shoes. I remember peeling out of the driveway so fast the tires screeched. Halfway down the street, I called the police again. Then I called Ben. By the time officers arrived, I was too terrified to go back inside alone, so I waited until several police cars passed me before following behind them back to the mansion. We searched the entire property again. Nothing. No woman. No man. No signs of entry. No signs anybody had even been there at all. It was like they vanished into thin air. This time, I refused to stay another night. Ben told me to go home immediately and promised his family would return the next morning. They ended up cutting their vacation short because of what happened. The intruders were never identified. The police believe they entered through the unlocked front door while I was outside in the pool and hid somewhere inside the mansion for hours without me realizing it. But there's one thing that still haunts me. When I looked under that bed, the man wasn't looking at me. He was smiling, like he knew something I didn't.